Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of the morning session of the Power Breakfast and Conference. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, Small Business Pro and CFO, and founder of the Small Business Pro University. And these events, as well as many other great events and activities, are produced through the Small Business Pro University. So, welcome. We've had a great morning thus far. Our keynote, Melinda Emerson, really kicked it off in a tremendous way, shared some extremely valuable business knowledge and wisdom that she's gained, and we're happy to have her here. So we have the Power Breakfast in the morning, and then we have a morning panel. Each session is designed to share different valuable knowledge, information, and resources for entrepreneurs and business owners. And one of the most important things in your success in business is your small business ecosystem. Nobody succeeds alone. And because of that, that's a big reason why we do this event, to help people connect, collaborate, be successful, be more successful. And wanted to have a panel talking about the ecosystem, how to build your ecosystem or strengthen it, or how to find the right ecosystem. So we've got some tremendous partners who are part of the New Jersey small business ecosystem. So, they're going to share some valuable knowledge and expertise, and look forward to hearing them. So I'm going to introduce our moderator, and then I'll let her take it from here. So Dr. Tendai Ndoro from the Small Business Development Center at Rutgers Newark, and she's the director, but not just the director. She's probably the best director in the state. So very happy to have her here. Working with her, she's always been supportive, and SBDC does some really valuable things for entrepreneurs and business owners. So it's great that we have her here. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, like a pro. And we've been participating for years in the breakfast, presenting, and it always gives us an opportunity to talk about what we do. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I run 3 global businesses, and before I kind of set the context of understanding what we mean by an entrepreneurship ecosystem and how it can be leveraged, I would like my panelists to present, to say who they are and their affiliations. So I'll start with Holly Kaplansky, and you can.
Thanks, Tendai. So I'm Holly Kaplansky. My business is Red Wagon Consulting. My background is marketing and branding. I worked for Kraft Foods as a brand director for many, many years. I was global marketing director for a clinical software company where I had offices in New York, Boston, and London. That was great. I was a chief operating officer for a licensee of Russ Candy Bears, so I know all the intricacies of business, P&L. And most recently, I owned Minuteman Press in beautiful downtown Newark. And I owned that business for 15 years. I recently sold it very happily. And that's a great success story that I'll refer back to as I speak. So welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all. Thanks, Anita.
Thank you, Holly. And then Trinidad from Rising Tide.
Hi, thank you. My name is Trinidad de la Rosa. I work for Rising Tide Capital. Rising Tide is the largest organization supporting entrepreneurs from the state of New Jersey. And we do that by training and coaching entrepreneurs to grow their businesses or to open their businesses. I've been with the organization since 2016. I started with Rising Tide to develop the Spanish program, and it was a tremendous success. We are now doing Spanish and English almost at the same level. We have the same amount of classes. And what we do is, like I say, support entrepreneurs in the state of New Jersey.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel is going to talk about leveraging ecosystem for resource, relationship, and opportunities. But what I want to do to preface this discussion is to explain what an ecosystem is all about. And I know some of you've got references like Silicon Valley was the hub for a technology innovation ecosystem. Now, there have been entrepreneurship ecosystems sprouting in different parts of the country, but in New Jersey, we don't have one. And what is an ecosystem? It's a dynamic, integrated, some people say a network, but the moment we say network, people confuse it with networking. So I'll say a dynamic, integrated system of people, organizations, and institutions coming together to support collaboratively small businesses and entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter whether they're a nascent startup, in terms of sharing ideas, resources, talents, information, knowledge, and capital. And in this context, I'm not talking about just access to capital, money. I'm talking about human capital. I'm talking about community capital. I'm talking about faith-based capital. I'm talking about social capital. So let's think of capital in an ecosystem as representing all these, as well as financial capital, as well as representing all these aspects of capital. And it allows the development of entrepreneurs and small businesses in a systematic, strategic, sustainable manner. Because at the end of the day, if we are all sharing information and we are all coming, like the rising tide expression you have said that the sea raises all boats, an ecosystem raises all people who are thinking about business to bring them to the same level. Because there are some other people with advantages of having the right connections, the right networks, and there are some people who are not. And the ecosystem is trying to make sure that access to everything that it has to offer is available to everyone. So now, and it's not also a database, and it's not also a CRM. So let's understand what an ecosystem is, and let's start thinking about our businesses going into this space as a holistic, dynamic, integrated approach that leverages everything that we have in order to make sure that your business grows and stays successful and sustainable. Now, I do want to ask each of our panelists to talk about what are other critical resources that small businesses need, and which ones do you believe currently in this environment where we don't have a formalized ecosystem, some of the challenges that businesses don't find, because you work with a lot of startups that have got a lot of challenges. You have run multiple businesses and worked at different levels, both at the corporate as well as the small business level, so and franchise level as well. So I'll start with Holly and then I'll defer to Trinidad.
Okay. So we all know capital is a critical resource for all businesses, but I want to talk about a couple of other important resources. First one for me is employees. That's got to be, and by employees I'm talking in a bigger way, not just W-2s, but 1099s as well, right? Anybody that you're working with to help you in your business. And I loved what Melinda said about hiring people who are not doers, but thinkers, right? So my version of that is that you can't teach smart, right? You can't teach smart. So if you hire somebody who has a lot of training in what you need, that's all good and great, but what if they can't think their way out of the bed? What if they can't, apply things, right? So if you hire smart, right, they can figure it out. So for me, that's really, really important. And believe me, I've learned this the hard way, right? I hired people with lots of experience, they gave a great interview, and then they started and it just wasn't happening because they weren't smart. So I always look at their resume to see what their accomplishments are, what they've been able to do, not just a laundry list of where they went to school, right? Are they smart? Then the second critical resource is going to be your vendors. I mean, there's lots of critical resources, but the second one I'll talk about is your vendors. Your best vendor is not your cheapest vendor, right? Your best vendor is the vendor who delivers for what you need, whatever it is, on time and on budget. Right? I've had vendors who promised me something and didn't deliver on time. That hurts me and my business. I've had vendors who gave me cost quotes. This is like the contractor who comes to your house, right? And the next thing you know, it's more because of this and it's more because of that. Find vendors who live up to what they say they're gonna do, and they do it when they say they're gonna do it, even if they cost more. Super important, not the cheapest.
Thank you very much. And then I will defer to Trinidad.
Sure. Like you mentioned, Doctor, is access to capital one of the things we always talking. But I would like to mention that it's also knowledge capital, and also something very important, especially in our community, it is social capital. And what I mean is networking. How many times do you see someone that get a contract because they know somebody and they know somebody else? What happened with our community is a little bit different, because sometimes the people that are coming through us, let's say a rising tide, all they know is the people that are around them on their community. So that social capital or network is very important in our community to grow their business, because sometimes the opportunities are given to someone that knows somebody. But what about our entrepreneurs that doesn't have that connection? So I will say, for me, social capital is one of the challenges that we have in our community.
Okay. And I think we had our keynote speaker this morning for breakfast, touching on a lot of the 12 P's,
Yes.
and touching on some of the very important things we hear. Human capital is very important. And by human capital, it's not just human resource, people who work for you, but people you do business with. We hear social capital, the community that you reside in, and the networking relationships, and the availability of institutions and organizations to support you in your business. But then our speaker talked about, doing your business on an app. I call my business a global business, because I do everything on my phone. I travel with my laptop, but most of the time I'm doing business on my phone, because there's an app for this, there's an app for everything. And you have to be, it sounds like a cliche, but you have to find the resources that are available to you. Some are at cost, some are no cost. But if you are not out there researching and Googling and trying to see and talking, having communication, lines of communications with people that you engage, you have to feel in an ecosystem, you have to feel uncomfortable being comfortable with people that you know, or uncomfortable with the organizations. I call them the usual suspects. Don't always defer to the usual suspects, because you want to go above and beyond the network that you have, because the network that you have is as good as what they know. And you can't grow beyond that. So we need to think as business people, and we need to change our mindset. If we are going to be moving forward in leveraging an ecosystem for resources, let's think broadly, let's think wide. In fact, let's think global. And that's something that you learn. It's not something that's instilled us, because before, small businesses was about, your neighborhood, family business that provides for the community. But now with e-commerce, we can expand beyond our borders without even being in that area, in that region or that country. So the next question, and I'll defer to Trinidad. How can a small business tap into ecosystem to access all these capabilities that they need? Because you work mostly with startups, with nascent-built businesses, and you take them through your Rising Tide 12-week program.
Yes. One of the suggestions that I will always tell the clients, which are, like you say, no business owner at the point they come to Rising Tide, is look for organizations that are providing the services already. And Rising Tide Capital, with the program, which is called the Community Business Academy, is the first step for many people in our community that they don't have the ability, let's say, to go to a college or to go to a university and take these classes. And the providers, like Rising Tide and many other organizations, but I can only talk about Rising Tide right now, is that we are there to support an entrepreneur that only has a business idea. And we don't want to question, why do you want to do this? Or like they was mentioning before, I think someone mentioned, what would I tell someone that want to make soap? We will work with that person that want to make soaps and make sure, like the answer that she got, that they get to the right target market. Because like she mentioned, it's somebody there that may like to use that type of product. Rising Tide Capital offer many resources, and I always tell the people, look for the organizations that are already providing the services that you are looking for.
Okay, thank you. And I'll defer to Polly. And you want me to repeat the question?
No, I can do it. I got it, right? So how can you tap into an ecosystem to gain more resources? I think is pretty much the question. I applaud everybody here today. You got up this morning, maybe you were here last night, came to a wonderful bunch of sessions. I always applaud Andrew. Your meetings are always wonderful, Andrew. You have the most amazing speakers. So getting up and getting out is super important, right? So I always say that if you're sitting at your desk and you're talking on the phone and you're busy doing your emails, you're working in your business, not on your business. Get up and get out. So I applaud all of you for coming out here today. I would say going to as many business events as you can, chambers of commerce, whatever networking events there are, to meet people. Business is all about relationships. We know that we do business with people we know and like. And the way that you do that is by building relationships, getting up and meeting people. I'll mention a resource. I'm involved in an organization called NJABO, the New Jersey Association of Women Business Owners. I'm on the board there. It's a great organization. It's a great way to build your business ecosystem, meet other business owners, meet accountants, meet lawyers, meet vendors, meet all kinds of different people. And I also encourage everybody to go to Tendai's website at the SBDC. She's specific to Essex County, but there are SBDCs throughout the state of New Jersey. There are wonderful webinars that you can do right from home. Many of them are free. There's all kinds of counseling that you can get for free. Another important aspect of an ecosystem is mentorship. People talk to me about that all the time. How do I get a mentor? So the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, is a great place to go to get help.
And I think what you mentioned just now ties into our next conversation about online resources. Because we know pre-COVID, everybody was, we had a vibrant environment of person-to-person networking, not webinars, training, physical training to facilities. But then the pandemic has since changed how we do business. A lot of agencies like mine, a lot of agencies like Hollis or Rising Tide, it's a hybrid. We do virtual. And we have also find cost benefits in maintaining hybrid access to services. So how can an ecosystem support an environment where it's online and where people need to have access and still feel fulfilled? Because the entrepreneurship journey sometimes it can be lonely, it's isolated. And what are some of the suggestions that you can give as a marketing person, but also as someone who is head of an organization for women that is statewide?
I think that we need to see that the online experience is just a part of it. It's not the be-all, it's not the end-all, it's just one tool in a toolbox filled with nifty things you can do to market your business and grow your sales, right? So it's just one part of it. Like any kind of networking, it's just one part of it, right? So I speak to people all the time who say to me, I went to that online meeting and I didn't get any business, or I went to that luncheon and I didn't get any business. That's not how it works. That's just one piece of it. Then you have to do your follow-up, right? Get together with people afterwards. You're all exchanging business cards. What are you going to do with those cards? Are they going to go into a bottom drawer somewhere? I had a big box once. To throw all my business cards into them, right? It's more than that. So what you need to do is build a database I speak to businesses every day and they don't have databases. And a database doesn't have to be big and scary and expensive. It can be an Excel spreadsheet, super simple. I'm all about super simple. I love simple, right? Keep track of everybody and use your database to reach out to people you've met and have a cup of coffee with them, right? Or you can do, if you don't want to meet in person, you can do a phone call, that's fine. But it's just one step. Online is just one step in the entire process.
And in your experiences, where are people right now in terms of using online resources and trying to access them for their as part of their ecosystem or as part of a resource that they can rely on and get conversion, for instance?
Yes, thank you. It is very important that people stay connected. And what we always recommend, and we do a lot of seminars through the years and stuff like that, I always tell people, make sure that you're signing in to mail letters from organizations that you are interested, because that's a way for you to know what is going on your town, what is going on your city. Because sometimes you want to be looking at stuff online and you don't know where that is happening. I tell them all the time, look for the organizations on the ecosystem that is closest to you. Because it's very good that they're having an event in Atlanta, but if I'm here in New Jersey, I should be going to Andrew Fraser events instead of looking for the stuff that are, they're very important too. But look for the stuff that are happening on your city, on your county, and participate. And make sure that you sign in to the emails letters and to the website, and that way you can keep getting all the information on what is going on your area, and that way you can participate, meet the people that are key players on your state, on your county. Make sure that you have all that information. Like you say, everything is changed. Right now, our classes are virtual, 12 weeks. You can do it from anywhere in the state of New Jersey, but we also have one in-person class. So it's a different environment, but people that are doing the stuff online, they get to meet people in all over the state. It's a difference when you're doing something in person just on your town. I highly recommend people to sign in, to look for events, to make sure that your name is out there in events like this one, for example, that you exchange cards and that you get other people information. Because if I take your card now with SBDC, I gotta go into your website and see what you have to offer. I do the same with other organizations, and I may not have to be paying maybe for a class or something that I know many organizations are offering for free on the state of New Jersey. Tap into what is going on in your area first, and then you go from there.
Yes. And actually, this gives me an opportunity to plug in a new initiative that we are doing, because we are establishing a virtual entrepreneurship ecosystem on the startup space platform. It's a software. It'll have an app where right now we are onboarding organizations, and in maybe a quarter of the year, in April, we will start having onboarding users who are the small businesses. But this is a really structured environment where it's virtual, and we are going to be the administrator for it, and small businesses. And what it will do is it will identify, like we all run organizations here, but it will identify their areas of expertise, so we avoid duplication of effort. We are small business development centers. We work with businesses up to 35 million in revenue. That's the federal definition of a small business. They work with nascent entrepreneurs and startups. They work with women. So the ecosystem will be an environment where if you are a woman and you are looking to network in the women space or affiliate yourself with women organizations, you will find Holly. You'll find what she does. You'll find the networking events online and offline. And this is an environment, this is new in the tri-state area, and hopefully we'll stay tuned. If you are on in our Center IC database, you'll definitely hear about it once it's established. Now, the other thing is, what are the elements of the ecosystem that are hardest to access? And I think because we don't have a physical organized ecosystem, Right now, it's all ad hoc. You come, you network, and you talk to a banker at that point. But you are meeting with a banker, but you need to have a relationship at the end of the day. You need to also have a relationship with a bank that suits your business, because that's something that I learned. I've got a local hospitality business. I've got a manufacturing private label. And so I found that with two banks that I have, I need to be with a global bank like Chase. But for my local business, having a local bank like PNC is sufficient. So these are some of the things that we don't know until we start running our businesses, and we have to wire money abroad. And if I'm having a supplier or a manufacturer that I need to pay, and I'm in another part of the world, I can go on my Chase account and send a wire. I can't do that on PNC. So for me as an entrepreneur, this was one of the things that was a challenge until I was running my business. And so access to capital in the ecosystem, because the banks are always telling you they've got products and they've got the business to sell, but how do I access? I had to know from experience what's a challenge. From your experience as a business owner, what are some of the things that you would like to see the ecosystem providing or understanding about how to improve, how to help their businesses in the long run as they grow?
I want to applaud the SBDC for putting together this upcoming, watch for it, ecosystem. I won't just call it a database because it's much more than that. But I think that some of the things that are hardest for entrepreneurs, new business owners, smaller businesses to find, which I think will be the ecosystem that's being built, the app is going to be a real good resource for, is things like attorneys, accountants. Business owners really need these people. And I often get, do you know this? Do you know that? It would be great to have a resource to give to people and say, you can go here and you can find banks that you might need, accountants that you might need, financial advisors that you might need. You need all of these things. Your business, you're not unto your own, an island unto your own. You need support from lots of different places. So I think an ecosystem is going to be, this app is going to be a great thing and a real great resource.
Exactly. And I think also when we talk about organizations, they have an appetite for certain industries, especially banks. They have an appetite for certain levels of businesses. Are you stage 1 or are you stage 7? And as we know, as businesses, when your business is growing, it tips and your business model has to change. So you might have been a member of Rising Tide, participating in their programs, but then when you are at a certain level, you then come to the SBDC because you are trying to scale up to multi-million-dollar businesses, and we have resources. Fortunately, we are hosted by academic institutions, so we've got infinite resources when we think about it. But I want to touch on the conversation that we had before we got on the panel about referrals, because you explained a problem that you are currently experiencing about how trying to access an ecosystem in an informal environment and sending referrals. What happens?
Well, I was like, I got that information that SBDC will be certifying people for government agencies to go after contracts with government agencies. And just as a favor, because I knew the person, I said, I'm going to post it for you so you get people. And then that was an informal referral, because then the people went over to my website, they applied, and then they was asking me, do you know who applied? I said, I have no idea who applied. That's your job. The only thing I can tell you is that because it's a line that say who referred you, they're going to put Trinidad de la Rosa. But I don't have a way of knowing who applied. I was just doing something, openly, because I know that a lot of our graduates, and that's a challenge, the B2G, business to government, is one of the biggest challenge that our community can face, because we happen not to be ready we happen not to have the right connection, and we happen not to have the funds, and we happen not to have the education to go after these contracts. So when I see that SBDC is certifying people, the first thing is like, I want people to know that this, they can go if they have a cleaning company, if they have a catering business, if you have a printing company, which is, some of the business that our graduates develop through Rising Tide, to go and apply and make sure that they can get a cut on these government contracts, that they're giving in counties and cities. But that's what happened. It was informal.
Yes.
Very informal. It's just me making you a favor. Go ahead. Here is some people to apply. But I know that next time will be better to have, like you say, that communication and a formal referral, system.
Because the advantage of an ecosystem is if her organization refers to our organization, we can track that. And we can give them feedback of who came, who didn't come. What's happening right now in our business environment is a lot of things are falling through the crack. And we know as small businesses, one of our challenges is follow through. So we get a referral and we take off. We were in the spirit of networking and getting all these cards. I want to say, are you networking yourself into a net? Or are you really networking for business growth? A lot of times you're networking yourself into a net and then you get caught up. You don't really use the resources that was referred to. So formalizing it is very important. The other thing is it's cost saving, because then you actually save on the idea of researching, finding who is the right person to do services for. Holly mentioned accountants, lawyers. Not everybody is a small business lawyer or understands small businesses. Not everybody is a small business accountant. There is a thing called someone who understands small businesses accounting. And I think one of the things that we see as providers is businesses having been misadvised. We saw it in COVID when the grant funds for disaster came through. People were being advised to write a lot of their expenses, and they end up with no net gains. And when the SBA came with the idle grants and they said, look at line 30, I think it was 33 of your tax return, we want to see your net profit. A lot of people were zero or negative and they couldn't access those funds because they were being advised by lawyers that if you want to reduce your taxes, you have to over exaggerate your expenses during the year. And it came back to bite them. So we need to be able to, the advantage is also is having accurate information, not hearsay. This one saying this and then saying this, and then by the time it really gets to the person who needs that information, like I say, it's about sharing ideas, sharing information, sharing talent. The other thing is trying to move small businesses from predominantly focusing on B2C, business to consumer. You should be doing businesses with each other. A culture of doing business with each other. And if you're doing business with another business, that's a B2B. It's not just our system is designed for us to look for that Fortune 500 contract, but not to look for a contract from Andrew and the Small Business Pro, or you give Andrew the business so that they can help you in your business. You want to pay for coaches, pay for a consultant, pay for professional services that will help your business get to the next level. And I think, how much time do we still have? 20 minutes. Okay, we'll open it for questions afterwards. Now, I want to ask you, Holly, what is a single piece of advice for a small business?
I'm going to get to that. But I just wanted to elaborate on something that you said about doing business with individuals, B2C rather than B2B always. You're not always going for the biggest customer. When you're out and about and networking and you're meeting people, bear in mind it's not just the people you're meeting. It's all the people they know. right?
Yes.
So it's exponential, right? So when you're going out and networking, getting the cards, building your database, reaching out, talking to people, building relationships, right? So I tell a story when I opened my printing company. I got friendly through Najabo with a coach, a business coach. And business coaches don't do a lot of printing. But, we got on committees together, we moved up, we were on the board, we got to know each other. She introduced me to her daughter-in-law. Her daughter-in-law is the business manager for a series of 5 medical offices. They did a ton of printing. My second best customer after Rutgers. So it's not just the people that you're meeting, it's their whole universe, their whole network. It's really a great way to grow your business, getting up, getting out, talking to people. Now, a single piece of advice for us small businesses. 3 words: happy camper customers. Happy camper customers. Are your customers happy with you? When you deliver your product or service, are they happy, right? If they're happy, they're going to refer you, they're going to come back, they're going to keep doing business with you, they're going to refer you to their friends and family members. And if they're not happy, you need to know, what are you doing in your business, right? Melinda was talking about fixing it. What are you doing? You may not even know that you've done something that the customer is unhappy about. Ask your customers. I used to make phone calls after deliveries. How was that? Is that okay? Right? Color, paper, everything good? Got delivered on time? Sometimes I hear something about a staff member did something or said something that I never would have known. Right? Make sure you have happy camper customers. Keep your current customers happy. Okay.
I will say one advice to it, especially the small business owner: do not try to do it by yourself.
Yes.
Look for help. I see this since 2016. I've been working with small business owners. They want to do everything and they want to be the expert in everything. That doesn't going to allow you to grow your business. Look for help. Tap into the ecosystem.
Don't be the chief everything officer.
The chief,
CEO, not that one.
chief, exactly.
I'm still in that.
They want to do everything, and if you see, I see people invest $60,000 opening a restaurant, and then they don't want to get somebody expert in marketing, and they expect their family, their cousin to be eating. That is not happening. Invest in getting experts on the fields if you want to grow your business.
And I can add to some of the advice that I've learned as a public administrator running entrepreneurship organizations and also as an entrepreneur. I want everybody to start thinking globally about their business. How can your business be a global business? You might not be ready today, but think of how can your business be a global business while you're acting locally. That's one of the things. It's a mindset, because when you start thinking globally, it means you create your business, and our speaker talked about preparation, talked about planning. If you're preparing and planning with a global mindset, you might end up regional, you might end up national before you even get to the global aspect. But because you're thinking with that mindset of a global business, like Holly said, you never know who is going to introduce you to come and do a training workshop in Asia or Thailand or India. You understand? So always prepare your business to go global. I've had companies, we talked a little bit about certifications and companies. I had a business when I first came to the SBDC 20 years ago. And she had been grossing about 300,000. She was at the Picatinny base, trying to get into defense contracting. She was a military person, and for about 3 years, I think we were, she was participating with the SBDC, and she's working and working. And then one day she wakes up, one of her efforts, she got a defense contract of $75 million
Hello.
of over a period of 5 years. So it's a drawdown. And I remember when she called me in the middle of the night and she said, I just got a contract of 75 million. I don't know what to do. I don't have the capacity. I don't even have the IT people, because she was in IT, mind you. I don't have the IT people to service the defense department. What am I gonna do? And my first advice to her was, do not panic. Because even to me, 75 million is a chunk of change. And of course, if you want to be in money, be a defense contractor. So I said, do not panic. Let's think. What is it that you don't have in your infrastructure? How can we build your infrastructure to start having the capability and the capacity to service this contract? Long and short of it, she of course, stopped because she had a sounding board and somebody telling her, do not panic, because she was in a panic mode. She was not sleeping and she would have really messed up that contract. And she was like, I might not take it. I said, take it. And take it. You don't, yeah, she's a millionaire now. And from 300,000 starting with the SPDC. But one of the things that she needed was to retool her business. She needed to retool her business model. And then she needed to look for the human capital to service it. And yes, there were, teething problems with people because she hired certain people in a business with the expertise that she needed. And one of the gentlemen actually tried to take over her business. And again, this was like 2 years in, and this person is hiring their own people, getting ready to take over, and now having side meetings. And she came again one night, always at night. My multi-million-dollar business is always call me at night because they've got my direct number. And I said, okay, you need to fire that person tomorrow.
Yes, right now.
And she was like, but I can't fire them. Like our presenter was saying, you keep people that might be not doing a good service to your business. I said, you can fire them. Put on your stilettos, go to the board meeting, go to the boardroom, call that person in and tell them they're fired. It was not in her nature to be that aggressive, and she was very nervous, but I said, you need to fire this person because they were about to take over her business. She had been sidelined, and this is a baby that she grew for a long time. So at the end of the day, as business people, you have to, don't be liked, be respected. That's another advice that I can give you. Because a lot of times we get into a culture of being liked. Yes, you want your customers to like you, but above all else, you want them to respect you because you are reliable, you are fair, you are capable, you are on time, and all these aspects. Even if you have, we meet difficult clients in the SPDC. And I don't know how many times I've been reported to the chancellor, to the congressman, to the senator, Booker, his office, calling me that there's a client who's complaining about us. But at the end of the day, I always win because the respect that we build in our brand, in our service delivery, and usually it's people who really don't want to do the work. Because it's hard running a business and they want you to do it for them. And when I say, no, I draw the line, we don't do it for you, you do it yourself. They spend more energy looking for ways to get us into trouble, to get me fired by my bosses, report me to the state. But that's what happened in your business also. You have to build that reputation of being able to deliver, but get the respect. Because even when people don't like you, they'll continue doing business with you because they respect you, because you are reliable. You want to talk about what do you read, what do you listen to and read, I guess, and then we'll open it to the floor.
Okay. Right now, I know you guys know that Rising Tide Capital is going national. And we have a partner in Branson, Missouri that have their own podcast. Yes, Rising Tide Capital has right now 12 different cities. Charlotte, South Carolina, Missouri, Chicago. They duplicated the Rising Tide Capital model in all those cities. But it's one particular in Branson, Missouri, that they have their own podcast. It's called In Pursuit of Community. They up to 12 episodes already. And I'm very into it because it is something very different and we're trying to support them. That's what I'm in now to that podcast.
Okay.
In Pursuit of Communities is called, if you guys want to look it up. Yes.
Okay.
It's from one of our partners in Branson, Missouri. So it's great.
Okay.
It's all about growing and developing underserved communities.
Okay. And Holly, what do you listen to? What do you?
I'm not a big podcast person. I read books quite a bit more, and I see lots of you have our speakers' books on your desk, and I think that they sound like they're going to be really great. I have a book that I've used for years and years and years that's been super helpful to me. It's called Life Scripts. Life Scripts. What to say to get what you want in life's toughest situations. It's by Pollan and Levine, and it literally tells you what to say. So when I had to fire an employee, I looked in the book, and they gave me the script. And it's like a flow chart. If this happens, do this. If that happens, do that. It's delivering bad news to your customers. There's a script for that. There's scripts for how to talk to your parents, how to talk to your kids, right? Your partner. It's a great, and it's a nice thick book, and it's got lots of great things. So before I have a difficult conversation, I like to check the book. I don't always do exactly what they say, but it gives me great ideas for how to have a difficult conversation. Life Scripts. Pollan, Pollan, and Levine, Levine. It's been around a very long time. I'm hoping it's still in print for you guys or electronic.
It's on.
Everything is on Amazon. Well,
Okay, so for me, and this is also advice, I'm a continuous learner. And I don't listen like Holly to podcasts. I might get, and not because I don't want, but time management, I gotta prioritize. But I read Google, Google search, because what I do is when I'm listening to something or when I'm reading an article and I come across a business term, because business is a language, depending on what level of business you are. And sometimes I come across terminology that maybe I haven't heard about because it's in the, talking about investments. I will go and I will Google it. I'm on Wikipedia all the time, asking how is this thing defined and what it means. And what I do is I take that information and generalize it to my everyday life to make it applicable, to make it useful, to retool it, because now I understand what it means. And because I constantly am looking up words, looking up phrases, looking up statements, they lead to other information, because for me, I archive information and knowledge. They lead to other information that I might not have been come across. And because technically my background, I'm a strategist, I'm constantly looking for what's going on. Innovation is important. And businesses are evolving, industries are evolving. And because I work with businesses in multitude of industries, I have to be conversant about what it is. And also I hire advisors to work with us in the center. And usually I use it to pre-qualify the people that I hire. So, and that's how I end up reading. So if I'm trying to hire somebody, I gotta have a basic understanding and knowledge to be able to pre-qualify the human capital that I onboard. And so I don't need to be an expert in it, but I need to know what it is. Because then if you're the expert and I know more than you do and you're the expert, you are not getting hired. You're faking it until you get it. I'll say go and figure it out and then come back. But to tell you the honest truth, to me, information, because we have the internet, there's so much information. You can get information overload, and as business people, you want to curate the information you need. It's not everything. The only thing that I will tell you I listen consistently is Google News in brief. I don't do network news anymore. I've got like 15 global news in brief, ABC, Al Jazeera, Sky, all those on my Google app. And every morning I wake up, I want to hear what's happening. I listen in the tech field, what's going on in the tech field. I love technology. I listen what's happening in news in general. I listen to what's happening in business, and I listen to what's happening in trade because I'm a Forex commodity trader. So those are the things that are exciting to me, and those are the things that I follow. So I have to be plugged into the news, and each news in brief is like 3 minutes, and I got the world and I knew in my head. By the time I walk into the office, I had everything. So let's open the floor. We want to.
There's one thing I want to say about the podcast thing. It's so interesting to me because I'm a very visual person. I love the way you talk about the 3-minute clips.
Yeah.
That's perfect, right? I'm a visual person. I can't listen to a podcast because I'm, 2 minutes into it, I'm not paying any attention to what they're saying. And I'm constantly having to go back to hear what they said, and then I drift again. So the podcasting is a challenge.
Yeah. The news in brief is perfect for me. Okay.
All right. First, I want to say great panel. Great panel. And just thank you to our guests for taking time out of their busy schedule to join us. And everyone in this room needs to meet and get the cards and connect with these guys because they can be part of your ecosystem. There's so many resources out there for entrepreneurs and business owners that are underutilized. And it's a shame because those resources are needed. So we want to make sure that you know about them and take advantage of them. So each of them represents great organizations doing great things in the ecosystem. So we're very thanks again.
Andrew, I just have a question for Tendai. How did that lady finance the contract that she got, the $75 million one?
Well, what she started doing was, because she had the promissory note from the federal defense, she went and borrowed working capital.
Okay.
Because of the promissory note, they knew there's no way you can have a defense contract and it doesn't come through unless you fail to fulfill the contract.
Right.
So because she had that promissory note for over 5 years, she went and got working capital.
Okay.
And this was really just to onboard more people, more programmers, more tech support people, and to create an executive team.
No, okay.
Over time, because it's a drawdown. It's not like they're gonna give you the 75 million over years.
Yeah.
As she fulfill the work on demand, she gets paid. She bills and gets paid.
Okay. Great.
And she has never looked back since.
Mm,
And I think she eventually went to another one because every so often when we talk, I always say to her, "You're no longer a small business, so I can't service you. But I do want to know if you're getting more money." And I think she got another one for like 150,000. I'm talking about 15 years ago, but she has since got more contracts thereafter. But she's not a small business anymore. She doesn't qualify for our service.
That's great. Thank you.
Which is a good thing. We want, want you all to outgrow us. We want you to outgrow us.